Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Doghouse Podcast again. Got a great return guest, Mad Dog. How we doing today?
I'm doing fine, man. It's a little cold outside, but I think I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Nice and chilly here, too, in Charlotte. I think it's cold everywhere. Gonna jump into it. Georgia loses to Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl 23-10. It was a discouraging, frustrating loss. We'll jump into that. But just a comedy. I want to not only say comedy of errors, just all the little things that you couldn't give up in the game. But what was your take on it there, Mad Dog? 23-10 loss to Rudy and Fighting Irish.
Rudy, that's actually funny. No, I kind of had a bad feeling about it. I knew that we were only biding our time. I mean, look, Kirby said this during a press conference after a game that we won, so it's not surprising that a lot of people didn't remember it. But he had said that this is not the best team he's coached. This is not the most talented team he's ever had. Right. He had a lot of lack of talent, especially on the offensive line. The offense struggled all year long, and I think it's a testament to Kirby's coaching ability with that tough schedule for us to only have 2 losses and then come into the SEC championship and win it, even if it is in overtime. I mean, we fought the whole time and we came out on top in a lot of times. And in this game, we didn't. There was just a lot of inconsistencies. I mean, Gunnar Stockton was running for his life every time he snapped the ball. And even though he was a running quarterback, I mean, it was his first real big start. It was a lot to ask of him, in my opinion. I thought he played solid. I thought it was good. I thought it was a very good effort on his part. I thought everything was good as far as he was concerned. He just got no blocking. Receivers kept dropping balls. Special teams especially, got a little screwed up with that, kickoff return. I mean, special teams is what really killed us. Because the special teams in Notre Dame, the field goals they all got, and then that kickoff return in the beginning of the second half, I mean, that just killed us. It put us in a hole that we couldn't dig out of. Because you think about it, the defense did its job. We should have scored way more points than they did. But I could have handled them scoring 23 points in a playoff game like this because that was fine. But it just wasn't enough. Our offense just didn't have the consistency at receiver. Lack of talent at receiver and offensive line, and that's what killed us.
Yeah, completely agree. Did want to ask, so did you – I think most Georgia fans didn't. You're 6-3 – you're only down 6-3 on that last possession, less than a minute.
Yeah.
And some people, Kirby's like, well, I wanted to be aggressive. Don't you think just kneel on the ball and go in 6-3? Fumble, and it's 13-3. And then you get the punt return, and that was 17 points in 50-something seconds. That was the game right there.
Well, everything kind of snowballed. He wanted to be aggressive because he was worried that he was going to try to do everything he could to win the game. He said that before, in a press conference before that. Do everything you got to do possible to win this ball game. And yes, he was aggressive, and sometimes it pays off. And then we see the narrative here where it didn't pay off. And when it pays off, you look like a genius. And when it doesn't, you just look like you don't know what you're doing. But I don't think that's the case with Kirby. I think he was trying the best with the talent that he had to win this ball game. Yeah. And it just didn't work out. I mean, I knew that we wouldn't win a natty this year with the talent that we had. I just knew that we were, once we hit the playoffs, it wasn't going to happen. I didn't necessarily want to go out in the first round, but, there's a lot of other teams that, to me, were a little bit better than us, and we still beat them, and we made the playoffs, and, they had to play in a non-playoff bowl game, and I know that's a tough pill for them to swallow, and, everybody wants to poke fun at us. Ha ha, you didn't do anything, you couldn't do anything, but when somebody's laughing at you like that, they want to take a jab at you, they just know that, even when we have a bad season, we still look pretty good.
Oh, yeah. So one little joke I want to make, and I want to get a couple of these penalties that frustrated me. So, I was making the joke, and even with the Notre Dame guy last week, hey, was Rudy offsides? Well, I got an Instagram comment, was Parker Jones offsides?
Oh my God! Well, I think
what do you think about that call? That made me so mad. Like, give him a warning. That was 15 yards.
Yeah,
first and 10 on the 11.
I mean, that there were so many things that was going on. Officiating this year, period, not just in this game, but the entire season was terrible.
I agree.
I don't know what was going on with the officiating. There's sometimes where it looks like, I mean, there was a player during that game. One of our wide receivers looked like he was practically getting mugged. His shoulder, you could see his shoulder pad, and you're like, you're not going to call pass interference on that. You didn't see that. If you pull somebody's jersey over their shoulder pad, that should be a flag. And it blows my mind. Like you said, he bumped into him. Okay, the referee got a little upset. The kid was standing out there, and he he was running along the side, and he hit him, and he got hurt, and he got his little feelings hurt, so he thought he had to throw a 15-yard penalty instead of giving him a warning. He acts like that kid went out there and like took some brass knuckles and just clubbed him right in the ribs or something.
Exactly.
I'm like, wait, what did you think he was doing? He was just excited that he caught the ball and he was going to make it. That could have been a touchdown drive right there.
Exactly. That's
and
what
it was taken away.
That where he's running, and he got hit, and he's like,
I know. He looks like he was so mad that he just threw the flag out of spite. Exactly. And sometimes I know we're not talking about baseball, but I see a lot of umpires do the same thing in baseball. They get their feelings hurt about certain things. They throw people out of the game. Sometimes I think a little bit of this power with referees, umpires, and everything else, it gets to their head.
It does.
And it's a problem. And they, something really they need to reel these guys in and tell them, you should have gave them a sideline warning instead of taking away that whole drive. And then what? All we got was a field goal out of that because that was that first drive.
Yeah.
And that was, that could, I mean, it didn't cost us, it probably didn't cost us the game in the long run, but the score would have looked better.
Exactly. Things could have changed. And you never know, like maybe you're up 7-6 or whatever it was at the time, 10, I don't know. And then like maybe you're not aggressive, and then you don't. Anyway, it's just like little things. We're not complaining. And then how about another one, the 4th and 1, where they jumped off sides and they ran the punt team. Well, that was all kind of weird. Maybe Kirby got out coached, but
yeah. Well, I don't know if he's got out. I get where people say he got out coached, but the fact is, when you haven't seen anything like that since Little League football, where you just put 11 on and 11 off, where everybody changes all. I've never seen that. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but to run, I mean, I know you're supposed to get substitutions in there, but they ran everybody off the field and everybody else out. And you could tell they had practiced that because to me, you have to pull tricks like that to beat Kirby Smart because you're not, because I think that's what he thought. We've got to do something that nobody's even thought about doing. We'll go out there and think we're going to go for it. And then all of a sudden, boom. Next thing you know, we run 11 on, we run 11 off, and then, everybody's confused, and our guy leans off sides. And truth be told, it looked like one of their wide receivers moved, but there again, they could have been a false start on them, but they didn't call it that way.
Yep. And then all in all, like the defense did do well. I mean, you only held Riley Leonard to 15 or 24 for 90 yards. I mean, if you would have written that in the stat sheet, you get the win. They shut down the Love kid. He was banged up. What did he get? 6 carries for 19 yards.
Yeah.
And then the fact is, what we couldn't do all year, we couldn't run the ball. 29 carries for 66 yards. And I agree with you. Gunner didn't lose the game, but he did what he could. And that was big shoes to fill. And then the drop passes. It was just all the warts came back to haunt him again,
Yeah. I mean, and even if we'd have beat Notre Dame, I don't know if we could have gotten past Penn State or.
I agree.
I don't know what would have happened. I know we definitely wouldn't have beat Ohio because I'm going to go on the record right now. I think Ohio State is winning it all right now.
I'm with you, man. They're hell on wheels right now. They're running through people.
I mean, when you get hot at the right time, I know a lot of Ohio State fans would have rather them got hot when they beat Michigan because they didn't want to lose to them 4 years in a row. But that's the one thing. I know some Ohio State fans, and they all say the same thing. If he wins the Natty, that's great, but he still should have beat Michigan.
Oh yeah. And then going into the game, you had the incident with New Orleans, which is terrible. Prayers go out to them.
Yes.
Then you had Georgia losing the game, and then we get the news on this past Saturday, Kirby Smart's dad passes, and all prayers go out to him and his family. So it's just a tough week.
Yeah, Kirby's dad actually fell before the game, and he fractured or broke his hip. I can't remember which one, and he underwent surgery, and apparently there were complications during the surgery, and he just didn't recover from it. And I mean, he could have already been in bad health. I don't know anything about it, but if you can't survive a surgery like that, then something else was going on. That's how the complications happen. It could have been a blood clot, could have been anything. But I think it's terrible that happened to him, and maybe it's a good thing that we're not going in the playoffs because Kirby needs to get his head right.
Oh yeah,
and the only thing that's going to get you past something like this is time. You can't, and you're going to need that time to get back in the swing of things as far as like coaching, which I know he's going to want to because his dad's, he's probably going to think that his dad wanted him to keep going because his dad was so proud of him. And Kirby, how Andrew is with Kirby all the time.
Yeah.
That's how Kirby was with his dad. Like he was always around. He was always doing things with his dad on the field. And so that, a lot of reason why Kirby wanted to become a player and a coach was because of his father. So his father was a big influence on his life. So this has got to be a tough loss for him.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll put a nail in this coffin and everything for this season. Still a great season. Hey, won the SEC, made the playoffs with that brutal schedule, and then we're gonna say hats off to Notre Dame for getting a big win. I think it's your first big win over 30 years. So, congrats to you guys. So
yeah, that's true. I don't think they're beating Ohio State, but congratulations on the Sugar Bowl win.
Yeah, for sure. And then Georgia fans, after that loss, could definitely use some of these. Our great sponsor for this year, VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. 0 carbs, 0 sugar. Watermelon's my favorite. Huckleberry for 20% off. Doghouse 20. Again, that's Doghouse 20 for 20% off. Great sponsor of the show this year. And then let's get into some of this portal news that's just flying all over the place. Most recent, as of probably the last hour or so, outside linebacker Damon Wilson is in the portal. I think he was a 5-star. He had 3 sacks and some tackles for a lot. I thought he was pretty solid when he was in there. I know he wasn't starter. But looks like 10 is in the portal, and then we'll also get into some good news. So what's your thoughts on some of the guys that are in the portal currently, Mad Dog?
Well, people are in the portal, and a lot of people go, oh, my God, we lost a 5-star. Oh, my God. Well, here's the deal. When you get to Georgia, when you get anywhere, the stars are nice, 5 stars, 4 stars, all that's nice, but it's not going to matter if you don't perform and practice the way you're supposed to practice, especially under Kirby standards. So it could be that he was a 5-star, but not every 5-star pans out. You think about, we had a walk-on quarterback when back-to-back natties. You had 3 stars actually, develop and do better than a lot of 5-stars do. And if your 3-star practices harder and does better on the practice field, Kirby's going to play him over the 5-star every time. You can't just assume that because somebody's a 5-star, they're great. It doesn't mean they're bad, but you can't assume that they're going to be that great. So if we lose a couple of 5-stars, I have to know that, they just didn't meet Kirby Smart's standards. So, if they have to go somewhere else, then they have to. But I think Kirby's bringing in people, and especially the good news that we got with the Branch brothers coming in from USC. That was a real good get. The wide receiver, and then we needed help at safety position. Malachi Starks is actually declaring for the draft, so we're going to miss him. Yep. So it's a big deal that we got that. That is some really, really good news coming out of the portal that they actually came to Georgia. And I think, they're going to use him as a punt returner, and he's a fantastic wide receiver. And that's what we need. And Kirby, when he goes to the portal, he gets positions of need. And wide receiver is always a big position of need for us. For some reason, it's hard because people don't want to come to Georgia because Kirby will make a wide receiver block.
Yeah.
And a lot of wide receivers just want to run and catch the ball. They want to showcase. They want to be in the spotlight. They don't, they're not in the run block. But with Kirby's system, you're going to have to block. Right. So, it is what it is. And if we can't recruit them, then you get them in the transfer portal. But offensive line, we recruited very highly with that. We're going to need to because, in my opinion, Matt Luke left the cupboard very bare because he didn't want to recruit as well. And now we're paying the price for it now, as you can see with this season, because there's sometimes where it looked like anytime, whether it was Beck or Gunner, whenever they hike the ball, he's just running for his life. It takes nothing for him to come through. And, I can understand that coming up, on a blitz, but every snap should not happen like that. And it was happening more times than it should have. And Kirby did address that during this recruiting cycle.
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah, again, that's Zachariah Branch and Zion Branch brothers coming in from USC. So Zachariah Branch had 43 catches for 503 yards and a touchdown. He also had a good freshman year, so that'll be some added depth. And do you think it's going to be a good chance we get Colby Young back with his whole issues? And then who do you think maybe will be your number one, your go-to guy? Or is he going to be in the portal on the wide receiver side?
Well, Colby Young was a good guy until all that stuff happened to him. So it could be him. It could be him. Could be the new young freshman wide receiver we got coming in. Because let's be honest. Those freshman wide receivers are doing fantastic. That I know he hit the portal, but Ryan Williams with Alabama was great. Mm-hmm. And Ohio State's got a freshman wide receiver. Some of the best wide receivers, Jeremiah Smith. Some of the best wide receivers we've seen this season were all freshmen. So it could be that new freshman that Kirby's bringing in, or it could be one of the Branch brothers, that's coming in off the portal. I don't know. It's hard to tell, but the fact that he's getting depth in that area, and for God's sakes, catch the ball and hold on to it. We were like number one in drop passes this year. That cannot happen again in 2025. Yeah, it cannot happen in 2025. It's just it's really, really inexcusable for a program like Georgia to have so many drop passes. It's ridiculous.
Right. Gosh, completely agree. All right, got some hot take questions for you. Let's get to the nitty gritty here, Mad Dog. I know you're ready. So first off, is Gunnar Stockton going to start and be the number one guy coming in, or do you let it be more of an open spring where you got Puglisi, you got the other kid Ryan in the 2025 class?
Yeah.
Or do you think it's going to be Gunnar Stockton? You're going to think Gunnar Stockton show after Sugar Bowl?
Well, I mean, yeah, a lot of people want to put their eggs in the Gunnar Stockton basket, and that's fine if you want to. I mean, he very well could be the guy, but I've heard way too much from Ryan Puglisi. And too many people have talked about how great he is. And we didn't get to see him in the spring game because he was hurt. And that was very disappointing because I really wanted to see him because I usually go to every spring game. Yeah. So we didn't see him this year. And they just saying the way he picks up on it. And, everybody was a big fan of Todd Monken. Everybody agreed that they loved him as an offensive coordinator. Well, Todd Monken went out and told Kirby that he handpicked this quarterback and said, Ryan Puglisi is good. He's phenomenal. He's great. And it's just that we haven't seen anything out of him because he was hurt. But I've heard way too much about the way he practices, the way he picks up on the offense. And I think that's the reason why Rashada is actually, transferring out is because Puglisi was named backup from Gunnar during the Sugar Bowl. And I think that ticked him off, and that's why he left. But, I mean, it would not surprise me either way if Gunnar or Puglisi was the starter. If Puglisi beats him out, this whole offseason, then guess what? Then you're going to see him out there starting, on August 30th. So I'm excited either way. But I also think we need to make some changes in the coaching position on the offense. I don't think that I don't like Stacey Searles. I mean, it's not that I hate the guy. I just don't think he's a very good. Like he's too inconsistent the way he coaches. Like sometimes the offensive line will look phenomenal, and then sometimes it's just it's like, did you guys forget what you were doing? Like what did you do during the week? He didn't want to. It's like he doesn't want to practice right. I think we need to get there. And everybody, there's a lot of people who hate Mike Bobo, and I was backing him up, and I was trying to be positive about him. But there's a lot of times it is just unimaginative. And I'm not saying that Mike Bobo is the problem, but I also at the same time don't necessarily think he's the solution either. So we're going to have to figure out if Kirby wants to keep him. And maybe he learned his lesson and realizing that just because he's your buddy doesn't mean he's going to be the right guy for the job. Right. I've heard a lot of rumors about who we might get, but I don't want to say. I don't know if you've heard anything, but there's always a possibility of somebody we might be coming back to the program. That's all I'm going to say about that. So I'd be excited if we got somebody new, but it's got to be the right person. I just don't want to, go out there and grab somebody just because everybody's pissed at Bobo. We need to make sure you get the right coordinator because that's not Kirby's side of the ball. Yeah. So Kirby has to have a certain amount of trust in that area, because he's a defensive-minded coach. So I'd like to see somebody different because, like I said, Bobo may not be the problem, but I don't think he's the solution either.
I'd take Sam Pittman, pit boss, back in a heartbeat. But I don't know if you want to lose. I'd take him.
Yeah. As far as the offensive line, yes, definitely. I mean, he recruited well, and the kids loved to play for him. He was phenomenal. So yes, that in a heartbeat, I would take him back as well too. But is it a possibility we may have somebody else calling the plays? But I'm kind of 50-50 on it because Mike Bobo didn't drop all those passes. He was putting the ball in the right spot, but everybody was dropping the passes. He wasn't dropping the passes, but the run game was just, I don't know, the running up the middle, it just bothered me a lot, especially when we were in a situation where, you realize that the offensive line isn't blocking, and you've been an offensive coordinator long enough where you maybe need to scheme either an end around or a scheme where they run the ball to the outside, more versus trying to run it up the middle because you just don't have the blocking there. So why did you keep making that call? That was frustrating. So that got me a little turned on Bobo in that regard.
One other name I wanted to mention, just because he is bringing a good group in, and then hopefully get the portal. Do you think any changes need to be with James Coley as wide receiver coach? Because they got 38 drops, and that might be a coaching issue. What do you think?
Yeah, a lot of people think you don't want to get rid of Coley because he's such a good recruiter, and we brought in some good wide receiver recruits, and you don't want to lose him. But you're forgetting that we have another wide receiver coach on the staff. They just made him a running backs coach, and that was the wide receiver coach from Georgia Tech. And he came in and he agreed to be the running backs coach. So if he does get rid of James Coley, I think it would be good just to shift him to the wide receiver and get a new running backs coach, because honestly, a running backs coach is needed, but it's like, to me, the least important coach on the coaching staff, because you can't really, you can only tell so many people see hole, hit hole, or maybe block. You don't really, it's not really a lot of coaching thing. And my case in point is this: in 2005, Georgia won the SEC championship against LSU, and they did very good that year under Mark Richt. And the run game was phenomenal too. And guess who the running backs coach was? Kirby Smart. It was the first time he ever tried to be on that side of the ball. So that goes and tells you right there that a defensive-minded coach goes over and he just coaches the running backs, and they still do good. Yep. I think that what you need at a running back position is a really good recruiter. That's what you need at the running back coach. I mean, because to me, there's certain things in running backs you can't teach. You can't teach the kind of talent they have, the way they cut, the physicality of the way they run. You can't tell them, hey, run faster. That's not going to work. Either they're fast or they're not. Right. So I think that's the situation with that. And I think that when it comes to that, the running backs coach could just be a very good recruiter. If you're going to get rid of Coley, you already got a wide receiver coach on there. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, so I agree with that. So just listen to some podcasts and people that are close to the program. So David Pollock mentioned on his that it's already in the works for offensive staff changes. He goes, I've heard it already been looked at. So, I mean, he's close. Yeah. And then, but Brooks Austin, the film guy, if you follow him, he's saying that that's not Kirby's MO, that he hasn't actually made a firing. People usually leave the program since 2019. So that's not his MO, but I got a feeling something needs to change. I think Kirby.
Well, yeah, you're right about that, Kurt. It's not Kirby's, I think he'd really have to be absolutely, livid for just absolutely say, hit the road, you're fired, get out. Yeah. Kirby's usually the kind of person that usually says things like, you need to find another job somewhere else and move on. Because he'll always make sure that whoever he kind of doesn't want around anymore has an opportunity to go somewhere else. He's that way. He's that way with the transfer portal too. He just doesn't throw those kids out and says, you're not going to cut it in the program. I don't care if you're 4 or 5 stars. I don't care how highly you came in here. It's not going to work. He always tries to find a landing spot because that's the kind of person Kobe is. So if somebody's going to take, I thought about this. You know how Muschamp said he was going to take a step back and he wanted to hang out with his son and whatever. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Bobo could say, you know what, I can be an analyst. I'm going to take a step back. Somebody else is going to call the plays. I mean, it's possible he does that instead of just absolutely telling Bobo, you can't stay here at Georgia anymore. Because I don't know if Bobo wants to coach anywhere else. I don't know what he wants to do. His health isn't that great because remember he had heart problems at one time. So he could go that route and just say, hey, you know what? My health isn't that great. I want to be an analyst. I still want to be a part of it. I want to be in the room when we come up with a game plan. But somebody else is going to call the plays in 2025, which would be fine with me.
Yeah, completely agree. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I wouldn't mind seeing Muschamp get involved even more. I think those last couple of games, the Texas
Yes.
game, SEC championship game, and this one, he was down on the sideline. You can see the improvement. So I
Yeah.
said, hey man, give him full reins again.
He
And
is
then
a phenomenal defensive minded coach. He's not
yeah,
a very good head coach, and that happens to a lot of people.
I agree.
But if you want to have somebody on defense coaching your team, you want Will Muschamp over there, and
Okay.
it would make me thrilled if he said, "Hey, I want to come back. I want to be more involved with Glenn Schumann. Let's get this thing going." The defense, I would not even worry about it if Muschamp came back. It's the offense that we were really struggling with. Drop passes, offensive line not blocking. Just that's what we were struggling with a lot this year. So the offensive side of the ball needs more attention
I agree.
to me than defense. But like I said, we'll see what happens. If Pollock says it, then I kind of believe it. But you're right. Kirby's not just going to fire somebody. He's going to make sure they've got a landing spot somewhere else.
Yep, completely agree. Another name that I heard that might get a looked at on the defensive side, maybe Dante Williams, because they kind of struggle a little bit of step back in the secondary. I've heard his name, so we'll see.
Yeah. And if there's one position that if I was working for Kirby, I would never want to coach, and that's the secondary, because that's Kirby's baby. That's
So
what that's what he played. That's what he coached. That's what he coached. I mean, if he put any position, a coaching position, under a microscope, it would be that one, because no matter what you call, he's just going to say, no, don't call it like that. He would. To me, that would be the one area I'd be like, nope, I don't want to be a DB for coach for Kirby. I just do not want to do it.
Yeah. Completely agree. And then real quick, Mag Dog, since we do have the playoffs coming up, we got Penn State, Notre Dame, and Orange Bowl, and then the Cotton Bowl, Ohio State.
And
again,
Texas.
Texas, I don't know what. And I believe it's like Notre Dame minus 1.5, and then Ohio State minus 3. So anyway, real quick, what's your picks on that? We might have the same.
I mean, Texas may match up pretty well, but I mean, let's face it, they had Arizona State took them to overtime.
Oh, yeah.
And the way the defense and the offense is playing, I mean, both sides of the ball are clicking way too much for Ohio State for me to think that in the end that Texas will actually win this ball game. So I'll have to go with Ohio State with that one. But the Penn State Notre Dame is more tricky to me. That could go either way. Yeah. That's a very, very tricky game to call. I think it could be Penn State. Penn State's been pretty hot. But Notre Dame's good, but they have they don't have a deep ball. They they have a run game and they throw to the tight ends, which is a good plan. But everything seems to be clicking way too much for James Franklin right now. So I could see it could be a Big Ten national championship with Penn State and Ohio State.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think Ohio State rolls. I could see them being 10 to 14 points, maybe even more over Texas. And then I like that Penn State pick because Jeremiah Love kid had a knee brace on. I don't know what his status is. Also, they lost another defensive lineman. Yeah. They're banged up on defense, but I think it'll definitely be a close game. But I'm going to go Penn State, Ohio State. Yeah. And then Ohio State national championship.
Ohio State's national championship. I mean, I don't like Ryan Day. I think he dyes his beard, and I think it's just weird. I think he's a just for men ad walking around. But honestly, he's got everything clicking as of this moment, and I think it has a lot to do with his offensive coordinator Chip Kelly too.
Oh yeah,
I think that they got that offense dialed in, and that quarterback, when he has enough time. My God, he could be, and the receivers are on the money. Like anything he throws, I mean, it's like they dislocate their shoulder and reach behind them and still catch the damn thing. I've never seen anything like it.
Exactly. Yeah, I completely agree. They're rolling. That Jeremiah Smith kid is scary. He is awesome. He's great to watch.
Yeah.
And then Mad Dog, how do we follow your content? You were definitely growing here, got over 2,000 followers. Also, he's got another doggone podcast. How do we follow your content?
Well, you can follow me on Twitter at MadDog19, which is shown here. I'm on Instagram. I got a Facebook page too. And you can find me with another doggone podcast on Spotify.
Yeah, man. Follow that. He has great graphics. He does Mondays. Thank goodness Fridays. He's got
thank God it's Friday. I do that. I do those. I come up with a lot of things. I enjoy being kind of artistic with the graphics and everything. So it's interesting. That's actually how everything started with me with the Twitter following was all the graphics that I did, and everybody was a big fan. And now once you reach a certain status on Twitter, you just got to kind of keep it up.
He's also a returning multiple winner Golden Shoe on Dog Nation Daily with Brandon
Yes,
Adams, right?
I won the very first Golden Shoe, and I don't know if they do a count, but it's probably I've won the most, honestly.
There you go. He's the man. He's a legend.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Check out Mad Dog. Also, his podcast is great. He's going to have some great guests coming out on another Doggone podcast. So, yeah, appreciate you coming on again. And if everybody's still around, make sure to like, subscribe, share Doghouse Podcast. Even though we got the off season coming up, we're going to have some great content coming up. Talk about more recruiting news, going to do the draft, all kind of good stuff coming up. Also,
absolutely.
If we get some new coordinators, well,
that'd be interesting to know when that's going to happen. I mean, everybody's thinking it's supposed to happen right away, but you never can tell.
Oh yeah, appreciate Mad Dog coming on again.
Absolutely, man. I enjoy it. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, appreciate it. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Yeah, man. All right, man. That's good. That was good. Right at around 30 minutes. So that was good.
Yeah. Did you like it?
Oh yeah, it's real good. I like the hot takes there. You don't hold back, which I like. It's good hearing it.
Oh no, man! No sense in holding back. I agree with that. That Bobo may not be the problem, but he may also not be the solution.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
What any names? Any names that we're hearing?
Oh, are we off now?
Yeah, we are.
Because I don't want to say this, but I have heard on more than one occasion that Buster Faulkner might be coming back.
I think he'd always take it, and he's located real close. The drive's not bad.
I know. No, that's the thing. I didn't want him when Monken left. I didn't want Buster to leave. I thought Buster was going to take over, which I would have been fine with. And then all of a sudden, Buster goes to Georgia Tech. And I was like, nah, shit. I mean, I actually said that out loud when I read it. I was like, no. And then the next thing I know, but see, the way Buster called that Georgia Tech game and the way he was giving Kirby's defense fits, I told somebody else. I said, I almost think this could be an audition. For the way he called that game. They took him to 8 overtimes.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a big deal. And I don't want to say it because I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, but I have heard more than one person say that it's a very distinct possibility. Because here's the thing. Kirby doesn't want anybody who hasn't already been in his system. He doesn't feel like, oh, this is how we're going to be. This is how this. Buster will come back and say, I know how it was. I know how it was under Todd Monken. I know what to do. Yep. And if Buster can do what he's doing with Tech with that little bit of talent, he should be able to be phenomenal with us. And I've been singing his praises since he was in Middle Tennessee. But here's the thing. Here's another funny thing. When Will Muschamp and Kirby Smart was coaching at Valdosta State, Kirby got his first job. And Muschamp got him the job, and both of them were coaching together. I mean, my God, they were sleeping on each other's couches because they weren't even married. They were coaching at Valdosta State. Yeah. Guess who the quarterback was? Buster Faulkner. Like, they know him from way back when. So it's not like Kirby is not familiar with Buster at all. He's very familiar with him. It's just I don't know if he thought he could. I don't know what the deal was. He wanted Bobo to come in. I don't know if he thought he could trust Buster, but I think Buster's been doing a damn good job at Georgia Tech.
Oh yeah.
And I know Georgia, but see, Georgia Tech doesn't have the depth that anybody else does. So that's another reason why I'm like, Buster came in here. I think we'd be all right. But so Buster's the only. I've heard a couple of other names, but Buster's the only one that everybody seems to be thinking, yeah, dude, that could really happen. Yeah,
I can see that. Yeah, I'd be up for it. Plus, he'll have the mobile quarterback, and you'll have.
Yes, if you think about that, you think about that though, because you see how he coached Georgia Tech, how that quarterback moves and runs, and he puts in design plays for when he can run, and that running quarterback killed us in that Tech game. Freaking, we couldn't stop him. He's freaking killing us.
All running quarterbacks give Kirby problems.
Oh God, I was cussing so much at that damn game. You have no idea. I was losing my mind, and I was like, oh my God. And I was like, damn it, that quarterback's been killing us. And I was like, and then the whole time, part of me couldn't get mad because I knew I had such a, I loved Buster so much. I was like, damn, Buster's calling a good game. And I was hoping Kirby was like, Buster is calling a good game. Maybe I should call him back. And I think Buster would come back in a heartbeat because I think he wants to put on that natty ring.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
I think he'd be fine.
Yes, sir. All right, man. I appreciate you coming on again, and I'll try to edit this and have it out soon. And I'll send it.
Yeah,
to you.
let me know when you have it out and send it to me because I want to share it with a bunch of people. A bunch of people want to see it.
Yes, sir.
They
Thanks,
told
Mad
me
Dog. Appreciate it, man.
I appreciate it too, man. Go Dogs.
Hey, stay warm out there.
I'll
Go
try.
dogs. Go dogs.
All
All
right.
See you.
All right.